for being here today and for joining my presentation focusing on effective onboarding activities for newly recruited teachers. And let's imagine that you walk into a multi-story department store. You've never been there before, and you don't see a single sign and a person. And you don't receive a greeting or even a question of, can I help you? In this circumstance, would you continue your experience at this store happily? Or would you walk out the door without a backward glance? So this experience is similar to what you might experience on your first days at your new job if there is lack of effective orientation program in place. If the teachers don't get the support they deserve after they accept your job offer, then they might do what dissatisfied customers do every day and walk out the door soon. So, how do you give new teachers the experience they need to feel appreciated right from the start? When we have a look at the educational institutions, what is usually in place is the orientation programs that first welcome of the newly recruited teachers. And orientation programs usually are a single event during the first week or 2 to 3 days of welcome of the new staff. Orientation programs also consist of a lot of paperwork and official documentation, which is necessary at the beginning of a new job, and also the presentation of the job description. And when we have all these at the beginning of our new journey, then that's a nice start, actually, because these are all the basic necessities of a new job. But is this enough to ease our new teachers' transition periods? Is this enough to help them grow a sense of belonging, to get familiar with the institutional culture, and also from the institution's perspective, to get to know the teacher and evaluate the strengths and their training needs? And in short, maybe is this enough to transform our new teachers from an outsider into an insider? Of course, we know that growing a sense of belonging, getting familiar with the institutional culture, starting to feel like an insider requires time. It's not possible to achieve all these during the orientation days. So what are the missing pieces here? We have the orientation program. We aim to ease their transition period. We aim to transform them into an insider. But what else we need to achieve this? So let's start from the beginning. The first thing is the extension of a job offer. We offer the job because we value our new teachers and we value their talents. That's why we offer them the job. And in order for them to show their talents, they need the necessary information, the necessary tools, and the necessary relationships in this new context. So if we expect our new teachers to perform their talents to the best, then we need to provide them with all these necessary requirements so that they feel comfortable and confident enough to achieve this. That's where onboarding actually comes to help us. So let's have a look at the dictionary definition of onboarding. It says onboarding is the process in which new employees gain the knowledge and skills they need to become effective members of an organization. So it actually goes beyond the orientation. They become an effective members of this new institution thanks to onboarding programs. And that's why we think there should be a clear system in place beyond the orientation days. So let's have a look at the comparison and contrast between orientation and onboarding. We have already talked about the content of orientation programs, single events, 2-3 days of activities, some paperwork, official documentation, and presentation of the job description. What else we need in this process is actually an ongoing support on the job, transforming our new teachers from an outsider into an insider, growing a sense of belonging, and getting familiar with the institutional culture, on-the-job training to start contributing, and from the institution's perspective, to get to know the employee and evaluate the strengths and the training needs for effective talent management. As you can see at the bottom of these boxes, below orientation, we have basic needs, and below onboarding, we have belonging, esteem, and self-actualization needs, which all, as you might guess, refer to Maslow's hierarchy of needs pyramid. So with the orientation, we provide our instructors with the basic needs at the beginning of their new job. But they also have these other needs, belonging needs, esteem needs, self-actualization needs in this new institution. And onboarding programs aim to achieve this, aim to provide these. Let's have a look at a sample onboarding time frame. Actually, onboarding starts well before our new teacher's first day in school. We can roughly divide this time frame into 3 stages. The first one, pre-boarding, then early boarding, and then onboarding. What happens before this first day to have that effective onboarding program? Actually, it starts when we start planning our recruitment procedure, how we start planning our recruitment procedure. So in pre-boarding, actually, when we say onboarding, what we want to achieve is to transform our new teachers into an insider. And to achieve this, they need to get familiar with the culture of this new institution and the context that we have in our schools. Therefore, we need to know actually what our school culture is, what our context is, and what is necessary to become successful, comfortable, and confident in our context. So with knowledge, we need to design our recruitment procedure. So let's have a look at a sample timeline of pre-boarding. So at the beginning, we have that decide stage. We need to know what our school culture is, what our context is, what is necessary to become successful, comfortable, and confident in our context. If we decide these, then we can plan our recruitment questions, recruitment exams, recruitment interviews accordingly. We know what to expect from our candidates. And in that way, we can hire the right fits for our context, for our institution. And then hopefully we send our offers, and as the final step is when our offer is accepted. So this part is the pre-boarding, which needs to be designed accordingly and effectively so that we can hire the best fits, as I said. Otherwise, it would be not effective and not happy process for both parties, both for the institution and for the new teachers. So, okay, we completed this pre-boarding with the offer letter and accepting our job offer, and then comes the stay in our institution, orientation days or orientation weeks, however you plan it. But as you can see here, between the offer arrow, the green arrow, and the orientation days arrow, the blue one, we have that yellow arrow. And it is a time that we also need to pay attention to. What happens between the offer and the first day is also a really effective engagement opportunity for all of us. So let's not miss this engagement opportunity between the offer acceptance and the start day, because while the extension of an offer letter shows that you value your new hire, you value their strengths, their talents, you shouldn't count on the offer alone to build warmth and excitement before the first day. So it would be great if you can send your new teachers a warm message or an email to show that how excited you are that they accepted your job offer, that they're going to join your team, you will be working with them. You can also get the candidate excited with this engagement by sharing some things to consider before the first day. If you have a teacher handbook, you can share this with them as well, so that they get excited and engaged before they start their actual experience with you. So here, a kind of summary of all this. A nice warm message or an email could be shared. I would like to show you what we send our instructors when we complete the recruitment process, when all the offers are finalized and completed. We send a general email to our colleagues to state that we are happy that they will be joining our team. We are excited that we will be meeting them soon. And also we give information about when they will be officially with us. So this is a nice warm introductory email. There can be some other engagement with new teachers before their first day, just as a kind of reminder. For example, we also send another email before the orientation days, in which we give some first day related information, like there will be a welcome breakfast, or how to commute, how to get to the campus, where they can find the relevant information. So some simple but necessary information before the first day. And with this, we come to the first official day. We come to the orientation days or weeks. So let's have a look at the orientation content. Actually, we have an idea about orientation programs. We also talk about it, what we usually have, like documentations, general job description. But when we start planning the content of our orientation programs, the first thing maybe we need to consider is how to create the right first impression, because it's going to be their first day in a new environment, in a new institution, and it's going to be a first impression for both parties. So how are you going to create the right first impression? What kind of impression do you want to have on your new colleagues? First, maybe we need to decide on this before starting to plan our orientation activities. Then, physical environment orientation is really important. They can settle down in their offices, office orientation, school tour, where in our context we have a scavenger hunt for this purpose. The new instructors had this hands-on experience. They have to solve some puzzles and find the right places on campus on their own, in groups, to add some fun element as well. This is the physical environment part. But the schools are not only built by some physical features. A school is a school with the people in them. So meeting with the colleagues should be an important component in the orientation program. When we say the colleague, actually the people who the new teachers will be in close contact during their first year. The director, the line managers, the maybe coordinators of different units, depending on the on your school structure, you can design this. but who will be there to welcome the new colleagues? Are there specific groups of people for this? Any responsible people for this? But there needs to be some responsible people to welcome the new colleagues in a warm environment. And then, of course, all the related people could be met on the first days. During the orientation days, one issue is also about the content of the information that we share. How much information are we going to share about our school so that they can feel comfortable enough to start teaching? So we want them to feel comfortable. We don't want to bombard them with a lot of information, but we have a lot of information actually about our schools. So how are we going to balance? And we need to be selective in that. So here actually onboarding helps us to ease our job. Setting the context and tone is also important. What is important for our context? This may change from institution to institution, from school to school. So when you look at your own institution, what is important? So it is important to make orientation programs relevant to your context. For example, instead of having a general session on assessment, you can have a session on assessment system specific to your school, what you use in your school. In that way, the participants also feel the relevance and be more engaged throughout the orientation program. For example, in our context, it is EAP, English for Academic Purposes. Therefore, we have sessions on teaching English for academic purposes, how to teach different skills in English for academic purposes. After setting the context, of course, if there is a need, we need to have flexible time for HR and IT related tasks. These in general actually sets the tone of our orientation content. Let me show you the Istanbul orientation program from our institution. On our first day, we welcome our instructors, and it's an introductory day for us. We have introduction to university and introduction to School of Languages sessions, and we have campus tour in the format of a scavenger hunt. And then we have flexible time for office settlement, HR and IT related things to do. So in order not to bombard them from the first day, we have this flexible time, and it's just a welcome and introductory day for new instructors. From the first day on, it is important to again look at your own institution and decide your context and what is important for your context. Because in our context, the most important thing is our syllabus and the syllabus objectives. Whatever we do in our institution are based on our syllabus and the objectives. When we create our curriculum, when we decide our books, when we create materials, assessment tools, whatever we do, they need to be based on the Schola syllabus. That's why we start our orientation program with this, by the analysis of Schola syllabus and Schola curriculum. Because whatever we'll do on the following days will be relevant to the Schola syllabus. Then it is followed by how to plan lessons using our syllabus, our objectives, and how to use our effective teaching criteria, which available tools there are, online tools there are in our institution, and how are we going to evaluate what we do in the end. So this is a general picture of the first week for our new instructors, so that they can have a general picture of what they're going to do when they start teaching. If we have time in the second week, then it's going to be a specialized week for us, where we have sessions specific to our context. So when you have a look at this program, as you can see, we have sessions specifically on teaching different skills in English for academic purposes context, because we have new teachers from a variety of backgrounds. That's why being on the same page before we start is also important. And ending the orientation program by going over our instructor handbook, by answering some questions, and then we are ready to start. So this is basically the content of the orientation program. What about the approach there, orientation approach? Actually, research suggests that we need to acknowledge the uniqueness of each individual and create opportunities for them to show their identities, their talents. In this way, we as adults feel recognized, we feel seen, and we feel happier and tend to stay longer in our workplace. So this starts from the orientation program. That's why instead of having sessions only about the institution, we can also have some slots, allocated slots, in which our new instructors can share their expertise, their experiences, and their talents as well. For this one, it is advised that having minimum of one slot each day during the orientation, focusing on the new teachers instead of the institution. So we can have some get-together activities, some networking activities. We use a Wheel of Fortune, for example, in which we have some personal questions, and our new teachers spin the wheel, and whichever question comes up, they answer that question about themselves. It's again a chance for them to share something about themselves. So this is the first principle that we need to keep in mind while creating our orientation programs, acknowledging the uniqueness of each individual. The second one is being relevant and context specific, not just for the sake of having these activities, not up in their activities, but very context specific, what we want to give our new teachers about our own context, about our own school. In this way, we can be also to the point. Having said this, we have completed the pre-boarding and early onboarding stages. We have come to the end of the orientation weeks. And now we hope that new employees know what to expect from their new school and their new school's culture and the work environment. And in this way, hopefully they make informed decisions that are more aligned with the accepted practices of the institution. So if we use this time for expectation alignment and to acclimatization of the new teachers, we can get them off to a good start. Here lies the question. Does onboarding end here at the end of the first week or at the end of the first weeks? We try to give the necessary information to create the general picture in our new colleagues' mind before they actually have a hands-on experience. What happens later? What happens when they start teaching in their classes? So let's remember our metaphor, transforming from an outsider into an insider. And data suggests that 1 week is hardly enough for a new hire to become an insider in a new institution. Actually, the same data suggests that new hires have a 25% productivity rate in their first month on the job after completing the orientation program. That number then increases to 50% in their second month of work and 75% in their third month on the job. So according to the study of Gallup, new team members typically take around a year, 12 months to reach peak performance potential. And that's why it is accepted that the best employee onboarding programs extend throughout the employee's minimum first 90 days and may even extend out for a full year to ensure new hires are fully supported as they reach their peak performance potential. So we know that this first week of orientation or first weeks of orientation is not enough to support our new teachers to reach their peak potential in a new working environment. Then here comes the onboarding stage of this whole process. So structured onboarding needs to continue throughout the first year, if not minimum of 90 days to support our new teachers. And let's have a look at the details of an onboarding program. Onboarding program needs to be a school-based program focusing on providing new teachers with the required support on the job, professional development activities and supervision for an extended period of time, enough guidance towards the resources available so that they know which resources are available for them to use, and the professional development path, recognizing their individual strengths and areas to work on. And again, according to research, addressing development during onboarding increases job satisfaction by 3.5 times. So it is really important to focus on their career development as well during this process. So this is the general description of onboarding program, but we also need to keep some principles in mind while designing this program. And for this, we also need to know the differences between pedagogy and andragogy. Pedagogy being the art and science of teaching children, while andragogy is the art and science of teaching adults. And here our audience is adults. We have our new teachers in front of us, so we need to keep the andragogical principles in mind. And let's have a look at very briefly what they are. The first one is the need to know what the purpose is, why we are having all these activities, what is the rationale behind. So we need to be explicit about the rationale behind all the activities that we have with our new teachers. They need to see the real purpose behind. They also come with experience. We have a variety of backgrounds. This year, for example, in September, 15 new teachers started in our institution, which means we had 15 different experiences, 15 different expertise. So here, the important thing is to decide how to tie their experience to the new context so that we can all be on the same page, but at the same time, how can we benefit from this variety of experiences? Self-concept is another principle, because as adults, we want to be autonomous. We want to have self-directed activities. We want to have a control over what we are doing. So creating this opportunity during the orientation program is really important. That's why instead of having a set onboarding program for all the new teachers, having individualized components in them would work much better with this sense, with the self-concept sense. They also need to be motivated with an immediate reason to learn. In this case, they are in a new institution. They have that immediate reason, immediate need to learn all these new systems, process, details. So in that way, they are ready to learn. But again, we need to keep in mind that the program needs to be relevant and context specific instead of having some up in the air professional development activities. And lastly, adults become motivated when they solve an immediate and real life problem and task. So giving the support on the job when they experience a problem, when they have a real problem in class with the materials, with the students, when they receive this support, it's more meaningful for them throughout their first year. So let's have a look at a sample onboarding program we have in our institution. After completing the orientation program, when our teachers start teaching, in the first week, we have a weekly planning meeting with a small group of instructors who teach at the same level, who have the same course package, same books, same materials. Together, we sit down and have a look at all the materials and go over how to plan a week using all the available resources that we have, so that they're also aware of the available resources and they don't miss anything in between, because it is highly possible in a new institution there can be a bombardment of information, the details, it is easily overlooked. So here our aim is to again ease their transition period, to support them. That's why we are having this meeting. And the next week we also have a lesson planning meeting with the same purpose. How can we use all the available resources to plan an effective lesson in our institution, in our context? Then we have a diagnostic lesson observation cycle to see what's going on in class, where the magic happens actually. So we have this cycle, and then we have follow-up actions to be taken, both for the strengths and areas to work on. That's important. Instead of focusing on the areas to work on all the time, acknowledging the strengths are also important during this time frame. And with the data coming from different parties, having some needs-based sessions, as I said, it needs to be relevant to them, and the profession development activities shouldn't be irrelevant and up in the air. So we decide on the needs of that specific group of teachers or some individual teachers, and then we take actions accordingly. We also have a peer observation cycle where our new teachers have a chance to observe our existing teachers in the system, so that they can see different ways of doing things, different approaches and methods. In this way, again, we aim to help them to feel more comfortable in this new context. So this is a sample content of the onboarding program. When we have a look at the importance of onboarding programs, according to data, it says effective onboarding programs lower the turnover rate and improve employee retention by 82%. New team member productivity improves in time with a structured and ongoing support. And if possible, exceptional onboarding experiences increase the satisfaction of employees with their workplace 2.6 times more. In fact, 70% of those with exceptional onboarding experiences say they have the best possible job. And this is also coming from the State of the Global Workplace report. It's a very nice report about the benefits of effective onboarding. You can have a look at it. And another important component of onboarding is asking for feedback, because asking for feedback also, this is coming from research, asking for feedback improves your relationship with your new employee by 91%, and it is also a way of improving your onboarding program. So we also ask for feedback from our participants, along with some specific feedback focusing on each and every day of the orientation program, like assessment day, curriculum day. We get feedback for each day and activities. We also ask their general feelings about the orientation program and their general feelings about our onboarding program, which we call in our institution as induction program. So here you can see one of the questions that we ask at the end of the orientation days. Which adjective would you use to describe scholar orientation days? And these are the adjectives used by our participants. As you can see, informative was used by many of our participants. That's why it's the biggest one. We have some other like beneficial, efficient, intensive, inclusive. So very nice and positive adjectives for the orientation programs, where they feel that it is fruitful, it is effective, it is efficient, it is beneficial, and it is intensive at the same time. We have here some adjectives like reformist or deep. So it's a nice way of reflecting on what we do with the help of these detailed feedback coming from our participants. About our induction program, as I said, we call onboarding, on-job onboarding program as induction program in our institution. One of the questions that we ask, how has Scholar induction program affected your teaching so far? Could you please give specific examples? Let me give you a couple of seconds to go over the answers. The last answer, I would like to draw your attention to the last one. I found the observation cycle helpful too, which could be really difficult because it says this process could have been stressful, of course, for the new teachers being observed by line managers from that new institution. It could be stressful. But in the answer, it says, I didn't feel that I was judged by someone. It was more like exchanging of ideas in a professional way. For example, I started to use a different teaching approach after the observation meeting. So it's really important to create this feeling instead of creating that judgmental feeling towards our new teachers, because we are not judging their performance. We are here to support them to reach their peak performance. So it is important to communicate this with your new teachers. Let's have a look at some other answers for the same question, by the way. The second one, for example, it says, as a new member at Scholar, I had no idea about the new workplace culture and conditions and the expectations from me. However, the induction program helped me improve my practice, learn professional responsibilities, and got familiar with the rules and regulation of the institution. And a lot of useful points about how to teach more effectively. So it is really nice to get this type of feedback from the actual participants of this program, that they found this program very beneficial for them, very effective for them, and they actually appreciate that they have this type of support, on-the-job support, so that they can feel more confident when they are teaching in this new institution. So with this, I've come to the end of my presentation, actually. Let's have a look at the summary and the general timeline of this onboarding program. So we said onboarding starts with the recruitment planning and continues till the end of the first year, if possible. In order to show that we value our new teachers and their talents, we think that we need to provide the support they may need throughout their first year in our institution. In order to have a structured onboarding system, we believe that there should be a group of people who are responsible for this program and for this smooth running of this program. And the new teachers also know who to consult to if they need any support, if they have any questions. So it is important to have some specific people for the running of this program. Having said this, I know that it seems like a big investment, and investing time, investing energy, investing resources, and it might not seem easy to create that investment for the new teachers. But I would like to end with this quotation. recruiting is time-consuming and involves attracting, screening, selecting, and hiring job candidates who demonstrate the required skills and experience conducive to an organization's needs. So it seems like an investment, but recruitment is an investment in itself. And in order to have low turnover rates and maybe happier employees, happier teachers, it's worth considering. Thank you very much for joining this webinar today, for being here with us. You can find my references, all the data coming from